Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Tes Vav Amud Beis, 15b of Maseches Brachos, starting from the very bottom line of the page. The Gemara had just quoted a statement of Rabbi Chama Rabbi Chanina, and now we quote another one. Ve'amar Rabbi Chama bar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chama, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, Lama nismechu ohalim l'nechalim. Why are tents mentioned in the same context as streams? What's it referring to? Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, it's a pasuk in Parshas Balak. It's part of Bilam's blessing or praise the Jewish people. Kanechalim natayu, like streams that are, I guess, like planted. Kiganos alei nahar, like gardens upon the river. Ki ahalim nata. Now, here you have the word ahalim, but ahalim here actually means not tents, but like aloe plants that are planted, and so on. So you have the word nechalim in the same context as the word ohalim. And the Gemara wants to learn something from that. And what is it? It's lomar lecha. It's to tell you that ma nechalim maling es adam mituma l'tara. Just like rivers bring a person from tuma to tara, from impurity to purity. If a person uses a river as a mikvah, af ahalim, so too tents maling es adam mikaf chovel kaf zechus. They also elevate a person from the side of the scale of obligation to the side of the scale of merit. In other words, why do tents elevate somebody? It means the tents of Torah. The tents of Torah elevate a person. They change a person. That's the comparison to rivers. Now, as I mentioned, it's the juxtaposition of the word nechalim and ahalim that teaches us that rivers are like tents. Just like rivers can elevate a person from impurity to purity, so too tents. The problem is that the word ahalim in this pasuk doesn't mean tents, it means aloe plants. So Tosfos says, actually, that's not where we're coming from. We're not coming from the word ahalim in this pasuk, but actually the previous pasuk, before this pasuk, was Matovu alecha Yaakov mishkanosecha Yisrael, where Bilam says how wonderful your tents are. And that's actually what he's describing in this pasuk when he says they're kinechalim, they're like rivers. And actually, so this approach makes a lot of sense, because it's not just, it's actually one of the word nechalim, rivers, is actually describing the tents. And so you have the tents of the Jewish people, and they're being praised and by Bilam, and he says that they are like rivers. And what is the comparison to rivers? So just like rivers elevate a person from impurity to purity, so too tents can elevate a person, that being the tents of Torah. Okay, the Gemara continues, and it says, Hakore lemafreya lo yatsa. It quotes the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, if you read Shema out of order, then you're not yotze, you don't fulfill your obligation. Then the Mishnah went on to enumerate numerous halachos. It said, not numerous, but one, it says, karavatah, if a person was reading Shema and made a mistake, yachzer lemakom shetah, they should go back to the place where they made a mistake. And now the Gemara is going to elaborate a little bit on that. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Ami Rabbi Asi avu kakatrin le ginana l'Rebbe Lazar. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were tying a ginana, a canopy, for the chuppah of Rabbi Elazar. They were making his chuppah. Amar lahu, he said to them, Rabbi Elazar, he was, I guess, waiting around while they made his canopy, his wedding chuppah. I don't think this was like at the wedding, but he said to them, while I'm waiting for you to do this job, let me go to the base medrash and hear some Torah. Ve'isi ve'emaluchu, and then I'll come back and tell you what's being learned in the Beis Medrash. So Azal, Rabbi Lazar went, Ashkechei l'Tana dekatani kamei Rabbi Yochanan. He found a Tana, a teacher who was teaching in front of Rabbi Yochanan, and he said as follows: Kara v'ta v'enga yodea leheichan. Let's say a person is reading the Shema. They make a mistake, but they don't know where they went wrong exactly. So the halacha is, and there's different girsas here, but the Bach's girsa is Yachzer l'rosh. They should go back to the beginning. If they don't know where they messed up, then you have to go all the way back to the beginning and start over. The Rashi says it means that you go back to the beginning of that paragraph. Meaning, if you know what paragraph you're in, and you realize suddenly that you must have skipped something, or you got stuck in the middle, you spaced out, and you're like, where was I? So then you go back to the beginning of that paragraph. You know which paragraph you're up to. So be'emtza parak yachzer l'rosh, right? So if you're in the middle of a paragraph, you go back to the beginning of that paragraph. So again, like I said, there's different girsas. I guess according to the Bach's girsa, first it says in general, you have no idea where you were up to. So you have no idea, you don't even know what paragraph you're in. Then you have to go all the way back to the beginning. If you are in the middle of a paragraph, and you don't know exactly which line you drifted off in, you don't know where, so then you go back to the beginning of the paragraph. Bein perek leperek, yachzer leperek rishon. Let's say you know you finished a paragraph, you just don't know which paragraph you just finished. If it was the first one or the second one. So then you have to go back to the first one. The first paragraph of Shema, meaning the end of it. Because you know you finished a paragraph, you just don't know which one, so you go back and start from the second paragraph. Ben ksiva l'ksiva. Let's say you're on the word uchsavtam. You just don't know which uchsavtam you're on. Because the word uchsavtam appears in the first paragraph of Shema, and it appears in the second one. So you know what word you're on, you just don't know which paragraph you're up to. So Yachzer l'ksiva rishona, you have to go back to the first one, because you have to make sure you say everything, so you go back to the first one. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, so this is still this conversation that's going on in the Beis Medrash, this is this Tana in the Beis Medrash that Rabbi Lazar went to listen to, and he heard him saying this to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said back, Lo shanu el shula pasach b'lamang yirbu yimeichen. That was only that's only true if you didn't say the words L'mang yirbu yimeichen, which follow in the second paragraph. So the second paragraph ends with Chsavtam mezuz bezecha b'sharecha, and then goes L'mang yirbu yimeichen. So if you didn't say the words L'mang yirbu yimeichen, and you don't know if you were at the end of the first paragraph or at the end of the second paragraph, you have to assume you're at the end of the first paragraph and go back. But if you went right into L'mang yirbu yimeichen, so then, then we assume that you did what was routine, and it must be that you are in the second paragraph. Right? If you say, and then you're like, wait, was I really in the second paragraph or the first? Once you said the words, we assume that that's where you were in the second paragraph. And because you're on autopilot, but that's where autopilot took you, was to the words of L'mang yirbu yimeichen, that's where you're up to. You just did what was your natural, automatic thing, and that's what we assume you're up to. So now Rabbi Lazar came back to Rabbi Yami and Rabbi Asi, who were weaving tying his wedding canopy, and he told them what he had heard. They said to him, had we just come to hear this, that would have been enough. I guess we also get to do the mitzvah of helping you prepare for your wedding, but it was all worth it, all this effort and everything is worth it for such beautiful words of Torah. Okay. Next Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Ha'umanin korim b'rosha ilan u'b'rosha nidbach. Mash'in Rishayim Lasos came b'tfila. So workers, you have a field worker. He's in the top of a tree, and he's picking the fruit, and it's time for Shema. So he should read Shema up in the tree. Or Rosh Nidbach, there's a pile of stones, he's on a stone quarry or something, he's on top of the pile, and it's time for Shema, he should read Shema there. Rather than come down, which is going to take time out of their work and cost their employer their time, money, so they should say Shema in the tree. Yes, saying Shema takes time too, but that's, I guess, expected. That if it's time for Shema, they have to say Shema. It's part of it's a built-in clause, built-in as part of the deal. But they can't do that for tefillah. They can't do that for tefillah because, which is Shemona Esrei, because that requires more kavanah. And you can't have proper kavanah if you're in a tree. You'll be nervous you're going to fall, or if you're on the top of a pile of stones. Okay. Then the Mishnah tells us, Chasan Pater Chasan Pater Mikriya Shema Laila Harishona. A Chasan is exempt from saying Shema the night of his wedding. He's, as we'll see, he's involved in a mitzvah of being fruitful and multiply, Pru, and he has to focus on that mitzvah. And if you're involved in one mitzvah, you're exempt from others, so you're exempt from Kriya Shema. How long is he exempt for? Ve'ad Matzei Shabbos im lo asa ma'isa. So he would be exempt until Matzei Shabbos. The assumption is that they got married on a Wednesday. So for the next 4 nights, he's exempt. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think up until Matzei Shabbos, he's exempt. If he has not yet done the act of consummating the marriage successfully. Umaisa b'Rabbi Gamliel. It happened with Rabbi Gamliel. Shnasa Isha. He got married. Vikara Laila Rishon. Yet the first night he did say Shema. Even though the Mishnah just said that a Chasan is exempt the first night, when Rabbi Gamliel got married, he said Shema the first night. Amr lo Tamidav, his student said to him, Limad tanu Rabbeinu shechasan pater mikriya Shema. Rabbi, you taught us that a Chasan is exempt from Kriya Shema, and yet you, on your wedding night, are saying Kriya Shema. Amr lahem, he said to them, Eini shomea lachem levatul imeni malchus shemayim afil sha'achas. I'm not going to listen to you to nullify the Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim, the acceptance of the yoke of heaven, for even a moment. I guess I won't listen to you for even a moment. I'm not going to miss out on that. And even though technically a Chasan could be exempt, but doesn't mean he can't do it. He's allowed to do it. So I'm still going to do it. Right. Tosfos says it sounds like part of the issue here is the ability for one to concentrate on the mitzvah and do it properly, and he knew that he could concentrate properly on the mitzvah of Shema. Tana Rabbanan, says the Gemara, the rabbis Taring a Brisa. Ha'umanin korim b'rosh ha'ilon u'b'rosh ha'nidbach. Workers read Shema on top of a tree or on top of a pile of stones. U'mispalin b'rosh ha'zayis u'b'rosh ha'te'ina. And they could even daven Shemona Esrei if they are on top of an olive tree or a fig tree. Ushar kol ilanos yardim lamata. But other trees, they should come down u'mispalin to daven. These trees, olive trees and fig trees, are examples of trees that have a lot of branches. It's easy to balance. A person isn't nervous when they're up there. So you can daven Shemona Esrei properly. Stand on one branch, hold on to one or two others. You're very safe up there. And you can have kavanah when you daven. But other trees, no. This is all for a worker. Ubal abayis, but if you are your own employer, you work for yourself, either way you should come down to daven, because at the end of the day you're not as settled when you're in a tree. So if you're a worker, so you're on the boss's time, so we have to cheshbon, we have to calculate in, we have to balance. You're on his time, you have to say Shema, you have to daven, so what do? So it depends. Shema, which doesn't require so much kavanah, just saying in the tree. Shemona Esrei, that you generally would come down for, if you're if you're a worker, because you can't really concentrate on a tree. But if it's a type of tree that has a lot of branches, like an olive tree or a fig tree, then you stay. But if you work for yourself, then come down, daven properly, say Shema properly. Rami le Reb Mari bra de Shmuel le Rava. Reb Mari, who was the son of the daughter of Shmuel, he's identified by his mother. Rashi explains the whole story that his mother, the daughter of Shmuel, was kidnapped by non-Jewish kidnappers, one of them impregnated her, and he actually eventually converted that man, but the conception was Shelo B'Kedusha, he wasn't Jewish at the time, and so the son is called by his mother, Reb Mari. Reb Mari, other places she's called Rachel, Bashmuel, her name was Rachel. Reb Mari, the son of the daughter of Shmuel, the son of Rachel, the daughter of Shmuel. He asked a contradiction to Rava. Tanar, on the one hand, we learn in our Mishnah, that workers should read Shema, may read Shema on top of a tree or on top of a pile of stones. That seems to say that you don't need kavana for Shema. Otherwise, why would we let you say it up in the tree? Viramini, but we have a contradiction. Because it also says Akore as Shema tzarech sheichavin asliba. It's a brayso. The brayso says when you read Shema, you have to have kavana. Shneimar, as it says, Shema Yisrael. It says, Hear, O Israel. Ulahalanu Omer. Elsewhere it says Haskesu Shema Yisrael. Elsewhere it says, at the end of Devarim, it says, pay attention and listen, Klal Yisrael, Jewish people. Mala alan be'askes. Just like over there, it's Haskesu Shema. You got to pay attention and let it be heard or hear. So Afkan be'askes. Here too, it should be be'askes. It should be pay attention. You have to pay attention when you say Shema. So we have a contradiction. One brayso says that our Mishnah says that you can say Shema in the tree. It sounds like you don't have to be able to concentrate. We know you can't concentrate so well on a tree. We have a brayso that says you have to concentrate. You need kavana when you say Shema. So ishtik. So Rava didn't have an answer. Amarle. So then I think Rava said to Reb Mari, who asked him this question, he said, Midi shmielach baha. Have you heard anything about this? You're asking me, but maybe you've heard an answer. Amarle. So Reb Mari said, Hachi amar Rav Sheshes. This is what Rav Sheshes said. Behu shebetelen mimalachtan v'karin. When it says, that you read Shema in the tree, so it's talking about where you stop your work. You stop your work to do it. So you do pay attention. I mean, you're still in the tree. I guess you're a little nervous, but you're not working at the time that you're saying Shema. So you're focused. You're focused enough to have kavana. So it's consistent. Yes, maybe you don't have as good kavana in the tree, but we're talking about where you don't like continue picking the fruit. As you say Shema, you stop. V'atanya, but we have a brayso that contradicts that. The brayso says, Beis Hillel says, Oskin b'malachton v'karin. That they read Shema while they're working, while they're picking. They don't want to take any time off from their boss's time. He's paying them. So even while they're working, they say Shema. And how could they have kavana if they're saying Shema while they work? So lo kashya. So it's not a contradiction. Habaparak Rishon, Habaparak Sheni. One is talking about the first paragraph. One is talking about the second paragraph. The first paragraph you need kavana, and the first paragraph you stop your work. When Beis Hillel said that you say Shema while you're working, that's the second paragraph, which you don't really need kavana. Fine. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Hapoalim shayu osin melacha itzel balabayis. If you had workers doing melacha working for a employer, karin kriyas shema umevarchin lefanel lacharel, they should read Shema, and they should say the Brachos of Shema before and after. Ve'ochin Peter, and they eat their bread. Ve'varchin lefanel lacharel, and they should make the bracha before, and they should bench after. u'mispalin tefila shel Shmona Esrei. And they should say Shmona Esrei. In other words, I think the Baal Bayis is there. He's present, and when he's present, we say that they do everything. Maybe it doesn't matter if he's present. The Brisa says that workers, they'll say Shema, but not only that, they'll say the Brachos before and after. When they eat bread, they should make a bracha before, they should bench after, they should daven Shmona Esrei. Aval ein yardan lefnei hateva. But you don't have somebody go before the bima. In other words, a person who's working shouldn't go to be a shliach tzibur. Which means, I guess, if they're at work, nobody should. They don't put the minyan together. Just everybody davens. They don't have chazar sashatz. I would assume they don't repeat the Shemona Esrei after. And they nosin kapayim. They don't have nesiyas kapayim. They don't have duchening, birkas kohanim. Fine. So this brisa says that the workers can say Shema and the brachos. You can bench. They can daven Shemona Esrei. V'hatanya, we have a brisa that contradicts that. The brisa says me'ein yidches. You don't daven the full Shemona Esrei. You daven that which is similar to Shemona Esrei, which is the short version. It's called Havinenu, and it's a shortened version of Shemona Esrei. It encapsulates all the brachos into all the middle brachos into one. So you have the first three brachos and the last three, and in between, the 13 brachos in between get encapsulated into one. That's the short version, and that's what we have a brisa that says that a worker should say Havinenu. So we have a contradiction because the first brisa says a worker says Shemona Esrei, and this one says he just says Havinenu, the short version. Rav Sheshes Lukashya. Rav Sheshes says it's not a contradiction. I mean it is, but it's a machlokus. Ha Rabbi Gamliel, ha Rabbi Yoshua. One is going according to Rabbi Gamliel. One is going according to Rabbi Yoshua. What's this? So this is a Mishnah later. I think it's a Mishnah. Otherwise it's a Brisa. Yeah. It's a Mishnah on Chavches Amud Beis 28b where Rabbi Gamliel says you have to say Shemona Esrei, 18 brachos every day. And Rabbi Yeshua says you don't have to say a full Shemona Esrei, you can just say Havinenu on any day of the week. So, and not even a worker, anybody. So, we have two brisas. One says the worker should say Shemona Esrei. That's Rabbi Gamliel says you're supposed to say Shemona Esrei every day. And the other brisa says you could say Me'ein Yudches, just similar to the 18, which is Havinenu. That's Rabbi Yeshua says you could say Havinenu every day. Ask the Gemara, Rabbi Yeshua, then if it's Rabbi Yeshua, Ma'ir Yapolim. Who cares that it's workers then? Why is he saying this about workers? Afil Kol Adam Nami. Anybody can say Havinenu every day. That's Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. So it wouldn't make sense to say the workers should do this, and they should say Me'ein Yudches. They should say Havinenu. It's not just workers. So rather, we'll say both brisas are Rabbi Gamliel. The one that says to say 18 blessings, that's Rabbi Gamliel. The one that says to say the shortened version, that's Rabbi Gamliel. V'lo kash, it's not a contradiction. Kan be'osin b'scharan, kan be'osin b'sudasan. It depends how their pay is structured. If they're getting schar, they're getting paid money, so then they're really workers, full on, they should say the shortened version. They owe their time, and they should say the short version. And it could be that's because they're really being compensated for their time. And it might be even based on their time. But kan b'osin b'sudasan. When it says that they could say the full version, that's where they're working for their meal. They're not getting paid money for their work. They get a meal. You work and you get a meal. So then it's more lenient, and then they could say the full Shemona Esrei. V'atanya, and we have a brisa here. This brisa is to prove this. Hapoalim shahayu osim melacha etzel bal habayis. If you have workers doing melacha, working for an employer, karin kriyash mispalin, they read Shema, they daven, v'ochem pitan, they should eat. Now, according to this brisa, ein mevarchin lefanea, they do not make a bracha before. Some take this out, the Bach takes this out. Aval mevarchin leachareha, but they do bench afterwards. Shtayim, 2 brachos. Our benching has 4 brachos. The last one is derabanan, so that is out. The worker shouldn't say the derabanan. Even the 3 first ones, they combine them into 2. Keitzar, how do they do that? Bracha rishona ketikuna. The first bracha is like it's normally said. Hazan sa'ol kulo, hazan sakol. First bracha is as normal. Shnia, the second one, poseach bebirkas haaretz, v'kolin bona Yerushalayim bebirkas haaretz. The second bracha, which is about thanking Hashem for the land of Israel. We thank Hashem for giving us this amazing land of Israel. And we thank Allah Aretz on the land, the Alamazon. And then the next bracha is about have mercy on Yerushalayim, Bona Yerushalayim, build Yerushalayim. So that gets combined into one bracha. Kolon Bona Yerushalayim, Birkas Haaretz. Fine. Bamed Dvarim Amurim. Says the brisa, why is that true? That you do the shortened version of benching, that's bosin b'scharam. That's when they're getting paid money. And then we're more strict on them and they should only say a shortened version of benching. And they don't even say a bracha rishona, hamotzi, because that's derabanan. According to this brisa, you don't say it. Aval osin b'sudasan, but if they're working for their meal, and they're not getting paid otherwise, o shahaya ba'abayis mesaviman, or the balabayas, the employer, is sitting there and eating with them, then mevarchin kitikuna. Then they should say the brachos properly, bracha before, brachos afterwards, the full benching afterwards. And what we see from this brisa is that this brisa makes a distinction with regards to whether you're getting paid money or you're getting paid with just a meal. And that if you're getting paid money, we're more strict on you. We say you have to shorten your benching and not say a bracha before. And if you're getting paid with a meal, then you say the whole thing. So we see there's a distinction between how you get paid. And then we want to use that. And this is a proof that there's such a distinction. And that can prove what we suggested before. The Gemara suggested that to resolve the contradiction with the 2 brises, one said that you daven a full Shemona Esrei, a worker should daven a full Shemona Esrei. The other one said you should daven the shortened version. The resolution is if he's being paid money, he should daven the shortened version. If he's just getting a meal, then he should daven the full version. On a practical level, much of this doesn't apply when we're working within a system where the employer knows the societal expectation is that you do take off the time to either bench or daven. It depends on the scenario. So this is not necessarily meant to be applied on a practical level to our system. It might depend on the setup, on the arrangement, on the built-in assumptions that the employers and employees have. Okay, we will Mirz Hashem resume from here next time.